Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Development Review Commission. Today is April 8th, 2025. The Commission is created to hold public meetings and hearings to provide analysis and recommendations to the City Council regarding general land use policies and applications where the Commission has recommendatory power, and to render final decisions on specified applications where the Commission has final decision-making power, including but not limited to all aspects of a proposed and future development. The Development Review Commission of a desirable environment throughout the city for residents, businesses, and industry is a prime requisite for the interdependence of land values, aesthetics, and good site planning by promoting harmonious, safe, attractive, and compatible development that is therefore considered to be in the best interest of public health, safety, and general welfare. Any person aggrieved by a final decision of the Development Review Commission may file an appeal to the City Council within 14 calendar days after the Development Review Commission has rendered its decision. Development Review Commission recommendations to the City Council are not final decisions. Tonight with us on the Commission, to my right, Commissioner Stephen Richter, Larry Tom, Vice Chair Michelle Schwartz. To my left, Joe Forte, Linda Spears, and Barbara Lloyd, and I am Andrew Johnson. With us tonight from our staff are Jeff Tamilevich, Ryan Levake, Michelle Dalkey, Karen Stovall, Robert Mancelio, Lucas Jensen, Whitney Mayfield, Joanna Berry, and Jason Wolf. If anyone here has come to speak on any of the items tonight, please fill out one of our speaker cards that's up here at the front with Ms. Berry, and we will hear your comment during our regular meeting. If you are here to speak, we will give members of the public up to 3 minutes to speak, and staff will be monitoring that time. Anyone who is on the WebEx, the chat box is not monitored or moderated. All right, tonight we will be, I will review a consent agenda, but first we will start with our commission meeting minutes. Then I will read the consent agenda, and then we will hear those items that are not on consent agenda. Okay, so first of all, we have the Development Review Commission study session and regular meeting minutes from March 11th, 2025. Could I get a motion for those?
I move for the approval of the study session and regular minutes for March 11th.
Okay, so we have a motion for approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, that's been moved by Commissioner Spears and seconded by Commissioner Lloyd. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, and that passes unanimously. Next, we will have, I'll read through our consent agenda. And during our study session, the Commission had reviewed our regular meeting agenda items and identified those that we would like to have on our consent agenda. If anyone is here to wishing to speak on one of these items, please get my attention when I read it, and we can pull that item from our consent agenda. The intent of the consent agenda is to be voted on as an entirety and voted in the for approval. So, item 4A, Chang Residence. Item 4C, Lofts on Hayden Lane. Item 4D, Park Properties, LLC. Item 4E, Go Snap Smoke Shop. Go Snap Shop Smoke Shop, sorry. And then item 4F, Daniels Edition. Okay, I didn't see anyone who wished to speak on any one of those tonight, so that is our consent agenda. Can I get a motion for our consent agenda?
Motion to approve items 4A, 4C, 4D, 4E, and 4F of the consent agenda.
Okay, that has been moved by Commissioner Richter. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, that's been seconded by Commissioner Forte. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, and that has passed unanimously. So the next item on our agenda is item 4B, which is Starlight Memorial Colubrium. So if the applicant would please approach and present your case this evening.
Hi there, great. Thank you so much for your time. As the kids say, this is my first rodeo, so I appreciate you bearing with me. Oh, that's going to be useful. Okay, great.
Great, well, welcome, and if you can state your name and city of residence to start, please.
Sure. My name is Carly Shorman. I'm a resident of Tempe, Arizona. And I'm here to discuss Starlight Memorial. Our project address is 1986 East University. That means you've probably driven by this property about 9 million times and maybe never noticed it was there because it's a small patch of green in the Smith Industrial Complex, which is actually also where we have our office building and warehouses. So we're requesting a cemetery permit. So I am president of Homecoming Memorials. We've been doing business here in the Valley for 40 years now. The company was started by my father, who was a funeral director. And he saw some issues with the industry that he felt were only going to get worse with time. And it turns out he was right. The average cost of a funeral is $7,000 to $12,000. A lot of families are not prepared to shoulder that cost when it arises. So we're trying to focus on creating some pathways towards death care education, encourage people to talk about these things before they're in grief. Jokes are funnier then. Since the company was started, we've worked with hundreds of clients across the country. We have more than 70 columbarium memorials here in Arizona. And a lot of these clients are church communities, cemeteries, nonprofit institutions. For example, we have one at Lowell Observatory that is available to lifetime donors. But this space at Starlight would be our first available to the public space, and we're really excited about it. Let's go ahead. The property that we're looking at, that we acquired, has Casa Chavez on it, which is a historic home that we're going to be working on registering. It was completed in 1886. It is the oldest inhabited home here in the Valley. It was in the hands of one family for 140 years. And my husband and I took on the property. We're approaching it as a stewardship rather than an ownership. So when we talk about having a columbarium there, it is a donor space to help us restore and preserve Casa Chavez. Our idea is that we would eventually be able to turn it over to the city with an ongoing endowment based on those columbaria. So we can see the green one is actually the overhead. And you can see there's that front property. The trees have had a century to take root. As we go further back, we see additional open space that we also acquired. And inside, you can see this is a San Pablo adobe structure. It was made in that classical single-room adobe style with the wall running down the center. Some of the plaster came off, and the previous owner was like, I like it, I'm gonna leave it. And I think that was a great idea. She also left us all her hand-carved furniture and her artwork and a lot of the iconography that you can find around the property. So this is a very small photograph of the front space. So it's hidden away off of University, but there is a large open field. It's surrounded by fruit trees. Just about every type of citrus you can imagine, Myers lemons, Tangelos, oranges. We keep fruit baskets at the front so people can come pick fruit with their kids when it's in season, pomegranate trees, fig trees. Here you can see this is from the back of the property facing University. And so the road is right there, but it's very much tucked away, so the property cannot be seen directly from the street. You just see that line of green. Here you can see is the back of the property. We have parking spaces on that front lot, but we do have additional parking available as we go further back, should ever the need arise. And here you can see our use permit for Starlight. There is that small red space that indicates that's where our columbarium will go. A columbarium is a unit for reposing cremated remains that are in urns. And so it looks kind of like a bookshelf. We'll get to some pictures, so I won't describe it too much. But in the space of 3.5 feet by 3.5 feet, we can fit 50 inurned cremains. One of the biggest problems that we're facing is affordable final placement options. And this is affordable, the most environmental, and it maximizes land use more than any other product that's available on the market. So on this picture, you can see the property when we first stepped in. We've been trying to, we've trimmed back a little. You're welcome to come by and see it. But that brown fence that you see right there, that is actually the size of our columbaria that we plan on putting in. Non-disruptive to the visual aesthetic that's already in place. We're very keen on maintaining the integrity of this property all the way down to the hydrology of the land. So this small space will allow us for that first memorial that will allow us to structure an ongoing endowment. All right, so this is a columbarium. We have a very unique design. This is actually a garden that we have in Tucson, and another sketch for an initial design. This first unit is actually quite small, so it wouldn't be more than 5 feet high. They wanted it designed to match the background of the desert. What makes our product so unique is this niche right here. Most columbaria are made entirely out of granite or marble. You have to hire a crane operator to put it in your garden. This is our niche. We make it right here in the United States. Our columbarium then are assembled sort of like Legos in our facility here in Tempe. We molecularly bond them for longevity, and then they fit together like this. So the only granite we're using is that 3/8 inch facing stone, and it dramatically reduces the carbon footprint in an astronomical way of any other placement option that we have. The best part is it installs directly into housing structure. So like that granite memorial that you had to crane operate in, getting it out is a problem. Our columbaria is actually the only one that can be relocated. Not that we plan on relocating, but I'm sure everybody on city council has heard stories of needing to acquire land for projects, or we hear a lot of times back east about needing to move cemeteries or grave sites. It's always a major trauma for the community. But in our case, that can just be relocated without disrupting the graves or those final placement. All right, here's an example of one of our gardens in Brio Verde. It's quite a popular option. They started with 2 units. They have 13 in their first garden before they added a second garden. They have 2 units in that new garden, and they're about to add 6 more. Here's an example of one of our gardens in Phoenix. And this is an example of something more to size of what we'd be looking at. These units come up about this high, but it's a beautiful memorial space. It matches our donor wall precisely. So just as you have people who donate to a cause and want a plaque for that, we also have this final placement option that would look basically the same. So these are just other examples of some of our units in the field. Like I said, the unit on the left is more to mind of what we will be putting in that space. I believe you folks have the drawings of that. Moreover, this property is very rich in Tempe history. Previous owner left us all her iconography, furniture, artwork. We're restoring the altar space here on the grounds. We've also had a number of Arizona artists express interest in contributing to the garden space. So this is a sculpture by Mary Giddings. I love her, she's amazing. She's in Phoenix, but we have a number of art pieces that have been gathered over time that are now on display there. Point is, 1 in 4 Americans have cremated remains in their home. This garden space will not detract from business for funeral homes or mortuaries in the area because we don't handle cadavers. We have no interest in handling cadavers. We will leave that to those established companies. What we are trying to do is provide an option for the 1 in 4 Americans who have somebody stored in the hall closet or on the fireplace mantle. We're really excited to do it on this particular piece of property. The Tempe History Museum has been out. The Apache Corridor Group is very excited about being able to come into this space and see the home. And we would like to make sure that it's preserved in perpetuity for the city of Tempe. How'd I do? Did I panic too much? Are we okay?
Very good job, very good job.
Okay. And I did leave you with an environmental impact statement. Like I said, the funeral industry is not entirely prepared for the changes in consumer interest, nor is the world entirely prepared for the silver wave that we all know about. This is an opportunity for us to establish a model of innovation that's going to be used in other areas. This is something that's going to be replicated by other funeral industry companies. And setting that up here in Tempe, obviously we've done business here for a very long time, but we love that we're part of the Smith Industrial Park. We know it's an innovation hub. We are very keen on innovation, from adaptive reuse to greenfield development. That has always been a focus of our company. And so Tempe is definitely the right home for us. I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you. Were there questions for the applicant? Commissioner Forte?
So is this your business?
So my business is Homecoming, where we make columbaria. We are trying to establish a columbaria on the grounds of Casa Chavez to help care for it in perpetuity. So they're adjacent, but also different. Yeah.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Commissioner Lloyd?
Thank you. How many remains can you fit into the one that you're proposing, and would you have any plans to build more on this site in the future, or just one?
We will have 50 niches in that structure, and that will accommodate 100 placements. So there is always the option of coming back in front of City Council again if we expand and add additional units. But initially, I feel like that's going to be a really good place to start, and I imagine it'll see us through quite a while here.
Commissioner Tom?
What is going to happen to the current structure on site and the existing structures to the rear of it?
Oh, we want to keep, like I said, we want to maintain the integrity of the grounds and the buildings as much as possible. We do not have structural changes that we are planning for that. We want to register it as a historic building, as a historic home, and so our plan is to, make that space sort of available for people to come in and take a look, but we are not planning on changing the grounds. That was part of the reason the owners, well, they waited for us to get the funding together rather than selling to developers, because they knew that that was our plan.
So your ultimate plan is to have that front building open to the public
Yes,
as they come and visit?
yes, it's a pretty cool place. We want people to be able to see it.
Thank you. And then I have a question for staff. It's probably a staff question.
Okay. Other questions for the applicant? What will that public access look like, out of curiosity?
Well, right now, we had talked about keeping very limited hours, but, we might be looking at keeping longer hours, because I was told that, generally speaking, you have to come back if you want to extend those hours from what we initially go with. But we are thinking about a Monday through Friday with occasional tour times on Saturday. We've been working with the Tempe History Museum to understand a bit more about how they show their historic homes to the public. So we're hoping to have a model pretty similar to that. I would think we would be at most a 9 to 5 or a 9 to sunset. But right now, we did submit more limited hours.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. We may call you back up after public period if we get any comments.
Of course. Thank you
Right,
so
thank
much.
All right, let's see, Mr.
All right. Thank you, Chair Johnson, members of the commission, Lucas Jensen, Planner 2 with the Planning Division. This request for Starlight Memorial Columbarium is a use permit request to allow a cemetery or a columbarium in the AG zoning district, right along University Drive, just west of Smith Road and east of Perry Lane. This collection of properties, you'll notice, zoned agriculturally, were subdivided and then subsequently annexed into the city, which is when they received that agricultural zoning designation. I think the applicant, Carly's context photos might have done the property a little more justice and context while she was able to describe them. I don't have a site key, but you can see portions of the existing home, the entrance drive there on the bottom right photograph. Again, that top right photograph is the driveway entry onto the property, very, very secluded and set back from University Drive. Looking at the placement where the columbarium wall will be located and then out onto University from that access road. And then again, we've seen the site plan. So the columbarium is going to be located just southwest of that existing home. There's going to be four dedicated parking spaces on site, and as a condition, those are going to need to be paved to meet ADA access for public visitation. And then the hours of operation listed there, which sounds like the applicant may be open to expanding those hours to eliminate the need to come back to the commission for another use permit to expand the hours of operation. This is the elevation I was provided for the columbarium wall. It's listed as 5.5 feet tall, about 7 to 8 feet wide, so relatively low footprint on the site. 50 niches, which can hold now, I know, 100 cremated remains. Won't go through every single approval criteria, but staff's evaluation shows that it meets the approval criteria. We do not have a parking ratio for columbariums. I think based on our analysis, 4 parking spaces provided on site with sporadic visitation hours for the public to visit. Those 4 parking spaces should satisfy those needs. It is located in between industrial uses to both the east and the west, so we don't anticipate that there's going to be any nuisance associated with this one. Let's see. And then I did also want to touch on the Smith Innovation Hub. This property is located on the southern boundary of that Smith Innovation Hub. And what that Smith Innovation Hub is it contains mostly those light industrial uses, and the intent of that plan was to kind of activate that area with kind of more mixed use, community engaged developments. And I think that this request is representing a minor increase in the intensity of the site. Although it's increasing from a single family use, it is increasing in intensity and gaining more usefulness, which is kind of the intent behind that Smith Innovation Hub. This list of criteria that it meets was provided by our Economic Development Department, who's been in contact with her and is supportive of this request as well. You'll see that it meets those sustainability initiatives laid out by the Smith Innovation Hub. It does provide unique programming space and engage the community. And then in terms of building design, she stated her intent to keep the existing building on site and respect the integrity of the buildings and to use adaptive reuse principles on that site. Use permits do not require a neighborhood meeting. We did receive one comment card that you should have received earlier in the week. It was in opposition to the request, stating that it didn't align with the Smith Innovation Hub guidelines and principles. I think staff's evaluation and economic development's input would argue the opposite, but that was one comment that was received from the public. Our recommendation is approve this subject to the conditions. The only non-standard condition of approval listed on this one is that all designated parking areas shall be unapproved paved surfaces and must conform to the Americans with Disabilities Design Guidelines. And I am open to any questions here for you.
Questions for staff? Commissioner Tom?
The use permit approval? Sorry, let me turn on my mic. The use permit approval, is it only for the front portion of that property? Because I have, if we look at our packet, we have the little outlined area, but then there's multiple parcels to the back. Is that part of the use permit area also, or no?
No, so this use permit only involves that front parcel. The applicant and property owner, Carly, does own, I believe it's the 3 parcels behind that one, but this use permit would just be for that parcel for the columbarium site at this time.
Okay, and then would the change of use require them to improve the entry? Because it's pretty narrow.
Yeah, that's it's not a condition of approval. I may ask for Michelle or Ryan's input on whether or not we will require improvements to the driveway entry for this. If
I have other concerns for them, because if they change use, do we fall into building code issues, and because it goes from a residence to something that's potentially public?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman and Commissioner Tom, I don't see that when this went through a review with the different reviewing agencies, departments, and divisions, that anybody specifically said that requirements were needed to be made to the driveway.
Okay.
So that was, routed to engineering and building safety and a number of other.
They didn't have any
groups.
comments?
There were no comments to that, speaking to that, making any improvements to the driveway.
Okay.
And then Commissioner Tom, in regards to your question regarding the use, the home on site is remaining as a single family home. As part of the letter of explanation, it was detailed that there's no business operations or visitation inside the home for the columbarium. That the public visitation is for the exterior of the property.
I guess. Okay, so the only public visitation then would be for this monument that they build, nothing else on site.
Under this use permit, yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Lloyd?
Thank you. Under this use permit, if they were to build additional columbariums, it would be covered under this approval, correct? Assuming they still have to go through building permits, but the use itself, if they were going to build additional ones, they wouldn't have to come back for a use permit approval if it's on this parcel.
My understanding, and I'll lean to Michelle, is that if additional columbarium walls were to be built, it would represent an intensification of the use and would require another use permit or a look at that use permit again.
Yes, that is correct.
Got it. Okay, thanks. And then just regarding the hours, I do think it's worth noting that if they're open to expanding their operating hours, I would think it's a little bit too restrictive the way the conditions are right now, and I think that should be done so they don't have to come back here for that.
Yeah, staff wouldn't have any issues with expanding those hours of operation to accommodate that.
Commissioner Tom?
So I'm having a little bit of concern here because we have almost, they're asking for a use permit for a cemetery, but a typical cemetery has like an office, restrooms. So if someone's visiting, they have a place to go find their loved one or if they don't know where they're at, or if they need to use the restroom, there's a restroom. I don't think there's anything like that in this request.
Commissioner Tom, my understanding from the applicant's letter of explanation is that there will be the residents and staff available on site in the residence that would greet guests. I may have to request that the applicant speak to the business operations.
Okay, because it seems like want to be a house, but we want to be a business, but sort of separate, but sort of not. Right?
Yeah, more
Okay.
or less is, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Maybe the applicant can come up and explain in their.
Yeah, I'll call the applicant up after our public comment period. Any other questions? Do you know if there's other columbariums in the city?
So columbariums are permitted on church properties and don't have to go through the use permit process. So more than likely, if there are existing columbariums, they're more than likely at places of worship where they wouldn't have come through the commission, but I don't know the exact locations for those.
And then my other question, and I don't know if you can answer this, but I'm just curious, does it change the way the property is taxed to have this kind of a use on it?
Chair Johnson, that's not a question that I would know the answer to.
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't think of it until now, and so I didn't think to research it, but I'm just curious. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll open up the public comment period. Was anyone here wishing to speak on this item tonight? All right, I don't see anyone. I think there were a couple questions that we had for the applicant, so if you don't mind coming back up and addressing those.
Okay, should I just
Shoot.
start?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. First of all, yes, we do have a restroom both in the home, and there was an outhouse on the property that has been updated. Everybody can calm down, it's been updated. So we do have an accessible restroom on the grounds and out exterior to the home. And so eventually, to our understanding with the History Museum, we could open our doors to allow people to look at the space without operating a business there, as our residents. We're living in the room that used to be a barn. In case you don't know, living in the 1880s does not have dishwashers. But the home is beautiful, and we're hoping that as we're able to, bring more of it into restoration, that we might be able to make more of it available to the public. We're just working out some of the details depending on, how much community interest is generated. We want to make sure that we, especially because we're establishing a fund to, preserve and restore. We just want to make sure that we're covering all our bases before we start embracing the grandeur of what could be.
Commissioner Tom.
How would someone in the public know that this is an available option?
I'm very chatty. We also, I'm very much involved with the community here. I'm the chair of the Women in Business and Council for Tempe. I'm one of the finalists for Businesswoman of the Year here. I'm very involved in a lot of nonprofit organizations, very much involved in a lot of, oh my gosh, community connectivity is something that's very central to my life. And we've had a number of people already come down and tour. The Arizona Republic did a feature article on the space already. So we've just occasionally had people showing up at the door. So I have the feeling that we're on a good trajectory so that people are aware of the space and know that it's an option to them.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right.
I'm ready. I'm here.
Were there any other business uses at that property before you acquired it?
I'm sorry, before me?
Yeah, before you guys.
No, the same family had it as their personal residence.
Was it weddings or something? They didn't do anything
No.
like that there? Oh, okay. was thinking of another
There's a lot of, as you may have been able to see from the images I brought in, it's very overgrown. We've been doing a lot to, cut back that garden and, make sure that the sidewalks are open and safe. And so the family they were very private people. And so they did not want to register it as a historic home because they didn't want people stopping by. We love people stopping by. You can stop by anytime.
With a fruit basket?
Yeah, the baskets are in front. I'm there.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much again for your time.
All right. So the public comment period is closed. So commissioner discussion. Commissioner Spears.
I will say I did see the article in the newspaper on it, and it's a very good article. It's a very progressive idea on this kind of thing, and I'd like to see it be extremely successful, and I'll be supporting it.
Good. Commissioner Forte.
So originally I wanted to hear it because of the public opposition comment, but I'm actually really happy that I did because I think it really, like what the economic development and staff said, for being innovative. So I support it too. I'm really happy that I got to learn about it. Thank you.
Other comments or motions? Commissioner Spears? Oh, sorry, 1 second.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Lucas has a suggested condition that Ryan Levesque discussed with us just briefly a minute ago.
Yeah, it was asked by the commission if they would be allowed to have additional columbarium walls with this approval, and it was provided by Ryan that if the commission was so inclined, that a condition could be added that an additional 50 niche columbarium may be allowed with this approval, so that they do have the option to expand if that's something that you would like to explore.
I would be in support of that. I think, it's such a small footprint that I don't think that would have a very great impact on the property itself, so. Okay, yeah.
I move for the approval of PL 240474 with the addition of the ability to increase the columbarium by another 50 units, and also to work with staff on changing the hours of operation.
I second.
Okay, so it's been moved by Commissioner Spears and seconded by Joe Forte. Were there any other comments before we vote? Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand. All right, and that passes unanimously. Thanks, everybody. All right, so last up are announcements. Were there any commission member announcements? Commissioner Forte.
So Keep Tempe Beautiful has a couple of Earth Month events coming up, April 19th at Low Piano Park East and April 26th at Tempe Town Lake North. Okay. Happy Earth Month.
And city announcements.
Just a reminder of the Boards and Commissions Appreciation Event on Friday, April 25th from 5 to 7 at the Tempe Center for the Arts. We'd like to see you there.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hope to see everybody there. All right, with that, our next scheduled commission meeting is April 22nd, 2025, and we are adjourned.